Well, today, friends, we have something very interesting for you.
Well, we're going to take a look at this landing. And of course, you have the video of the landing where the leg's kicking out. Now, the leg that's kicking out in the video is on the shadow side as it's coming in. It could be this leg right here. The video is of the shadow. So this leg on the back side here is the one that's creating that shadow kicking out. However, when you look at these legs, from the secondary strut down, it's supposed to be 32 inches. This one is a hell of a lot shorter than this one. This leg must have been damaged and needed to be replaced. The one over there is damaged and needed to be replaced because you can physically see that in the video. Now, the other thing that's notable here is the amount of damage of equipment on the ground. Here's a piece that's formed that would be coming up and mounted in here. This foam is designed. You can see the rest of the foam up here that they just laid in over the thing and put the Mylar over to cover it. Nice way to do a model, quick foam. This is the mounting hardware for the RTG, and it's all broken, just smashed up. It's laying on the ground. Here's the RTG here. You can see part of it here, and it's just hanging down. But over here is the part that makes it swing down.
What's it doing underneath the limb?
These guys are doing a tremendous amount of damage. And you'll notice this is all nicely taped up and fully closed off. And yet when you look over here, all the equipment is out. Why is it closed up? Then we'll go a little farther along. And here's this leg, and we're going to take a look at this leg. And you can see this is the center of the foot pad on it. And the leg is snapped right off of the foot pad and is laying over to the far edge. This is the edge of it here. It's snapped right off. No compression on it, even with all of that impact. Apollo 15, I think, had 1.8 G of impact.
Okay, this is Apollo 15 now.
This is Apollo 15. There's the tool to take the little nuclear device out and load it in. And of course, you can see all of the equipment is out here on the set, yet the doors are closed up. Now we're going to come back and we're going to have a little closer look, because when it landed and the straps are breaking and you see that one fluttering around, here it is here on the ground.
Wow, look at that.
That's the strap that flops around.
Now, why on earth would they need a strap of that magnitude? Because I'm going to show it in a boat. That looks like a boat strap to haul a boat out of the water.
That's a little lighter one, just the control strap's a little bit lighter than the one you see on the hammer and the feather, and we're going to get to that in a second. What you need to look at here is this is the bell housing here. It is absolutely pounded right into the ground here. And they're showing it on this side, and then they turn around and they show it on this side where it's got the wrinkles in it, and it's right on the ground. This little thing is part of the arm that swings down for the Rover, and it's completely sheared off. The bolts are completely sheared off on it. Here's the rest of the mounting where it swings down. These cables here, which are sheared off, you can see they're sheared right off on here and here and here. That's what lowered the Rover down on it. And the Rover being the heaviest piece of equipment, if this is the size of the cable that you need for the heaviest piece of equipment, what the hell is the rest of it doing here? This is the other side. You can see how much the impact hit there. The legs have to be missing at this point for it to crush down like that. The legs are not holding the machine up. They kicked out and it hit right down onto the bell housing. No other reason for that to happen. And NASA, for whatever reason, they actually enhanced it to brighten it up so you can see it even better. And another picture here just showing it with a bit of blurring on it. These particular pieces here are swivel ball joints for the secondary strut where they attach. And they took quite a few pictures of it.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. Why would you need a strap that size for the limb if you're not going to be lowering it on something, like a crane perhaps?
Here's another ungodly size strap. Goes from a single and splits into a two and then splits into another two. And this strap is probably designed to pick the Rover up, move it around in their various locations. No other reason to have a strap that physical size that can lift tons of weight, especially if you're on 1/6 gravity on the lunar surface. It simply wouldn't be there. By the way, this guy is absolutely filthy, dirty, and that's wet. Everything's wet. That's not just dirt, that's wet. That was Apollo 17 showing that particular strap.
But these straps don't just appear on 15, they're also on 17.
Absolutely. Here's the hammer and the feather. And once again, this is the strap that actually broke that was holding it up. The other strap we showed is the secondary strap you see waving when it hit the ground. This one is specifically designed to attach to the LEM in various spots to hold it up. And it either disconnected on its own or it physically broke. This is what let go when the LEM crashed to the ground. And it was probably 8-9 feet off the ground on one side. One leg was obviously, because of the crater, was touching the ground, and then the other side come crashing down. You see the legs kick out, and they've replaced at least 2 of the legs on the LEM, and that's why they went for a stand-up EVA. Then they did the first and second EVA before they even mounted the flag, and that's just such an un-American thing to do, to mount that flag. Now we're going to take a look at just an off-the-wall photograph that was put in. It's on Magazine 82, and we're going to take a look. You're going to notice here, these are tracks on the ground from them running around, so they've got a rover out there. This is their equipment bay. None of that yet has been unloaded. Yet the flag is out, which means this has to be at the end of EVA 2. And when you come in here and look a little closer, you're going to see right here, that's a rover, upside down on the ground. That's the frame of the rover. You can see the 2 corner points on it, and there's a tire sitting right there. The other one's down over here.
I see 2 tires that have been broken right off of that. The tire on the back left is broken, and the tire on the front right is broken right off. There's only 2 tires left there that are folded up.
Yeah, that you can see. You might not see the rest of the rover frame sitting there. This is the only shot showing this side of the vehicle from that angle. The ladder is here. The picture's so bad, the ladder is actually on the leg there. It might have needed to be replaced as well. There's the door coming out on the mesa and down, but you don't see any of that. What you're seeing out the window on the landing is the shadow of this leg with the stabilizer strap. The shadow is coming from this leg out the window, shooting down, because the door is always on the shadow side. This leg is always on the shadow side. So the shadow of this leg is the one that's kicking out. So that is the correct leg that was replaced in the other picture.
How many rovers do you think they have out there? Okay, let's count. You have a broken rover here. It hasn't even been set up yet. It's fallen off, busted. 2 tires look like they're broken off. And yet, look at all these tire tracks that are all over the place here. There's a broken rover there. Hasn't even been set up yet. And then there's tire tracks out all over the place. Well, that's 2 rovers so far. And then I'm sure that if you take a look at the tracks, you're going to find different style tracks as well.
We pointed that out before. This is a very wide, and the chevron is very shallow chevron compared to other ones. This looks perfectly straight, and that could be an anomaly in there, but there are other ones where it's a completely different machine on it. But they've been out running. This is at the end of the second EVA, because that's when they put the flag up. And still all of this crap is here.
Yeah, watch the Bertie bunch of claim that that's not the rover.
That is the rover. They don't have any other piece of equipment that has tires on it with a frame like that.
No, and especially because those 2 are folded inwards. That's exactly what happens to that rover.
Yeah, and don't forget, it was damaged even further when it hit the ground. We've already shown that it's been broken off the straps. The mounting frame that holds it up was there. We've shown the impact of the LEM as it's being set down on the lunar set. We're showing the legs being kicked off. We're showing the damage of the legs. We're showing the swivel ball joints that are just laying on the ground. Here they are right there. We're showing this all clearly. There's nothing to dispute here. Look at this. Did they land on this? Was this already on the lunar surface? No, this is off the machine. All of this stuff is off the machine. This rounded piece of equipment and framing that goes in there that you see, the only piece of equipment that has a rounded formation like that coming out on it is this piece of equipment here. And you can see part of it's missing. There's more of the framing up there where it comes down.
That doesn't belong there, because to me that looks like a piece of lumber, almost like a 2x4 or a little bit wider, maybe a 2x6, a piece of 2x6 that they've just screwed that bracket to. That's not going to work all that well in space, because the wood's going to dry out and that's going to crack and it's going to fall off. That's probably what the half of that other one laying underneath there is from.
Well, the only thing about this one, it doesn't have the tank on it. They might have used the tank and stuck this on it to mount it here and left the old bunch of stuff there. Just like they left these little secondary swivels here. That's them right there. That's how they mount on. You can see that they mount. That is that piece of equipment there. And that little ball swivel that's in there has broken off. And you can see that in that landing video when the struts kick out. And what you're seeing is you're seeing the struts kicking out there. The only way they can kick out, this has to be disconnected. That leg literally falls right off in that video. It's not there when the dust clears.
Oh, no, that's right. No, it's gone. The whole thing is gone.
It's gone. It's not even there at all. This thing is just balanced on the exhaust housing on the thing. And you can physically see this leg is at least a foot longer than this leg. And there's no compression on any of them. And just the weight of this machine would cause the honeycomb aluminum that they put in there for the compression to be at least 10 inches. Just the weight of the machine would crush it 10 inches. Then you got a 1.8 G impact in Apollo 15. And if one leg hits first, it's going to be fully compressed. Each leg could only take 3/4 of a G. So if one leg hits first at 1.8 G, it's completely crushed or it just snaps right off. And once again, here, all of the experimental equipment out, the door is shut.
The door may be shut, but the Apollo proponents, they claim that the reason why they were shut was to protect it from the sunlight, from the damaging sun.
But it's already out here.
There.
You can see where they had it open. How many times did they rehearse it? Like, there's the tethers to lower the stuff down with. That's all fine and dandy. Why would you shut the door? And how do you put this tape back up here? Just unreal. They're probably shooting it over several days. They're trying to fix this equipment. They're trying to repair these legs and get it back on so they can actually take a shot. So they did a stand-up EVA where they don't show it. Then they go out on an EVA and don't show any photographs of the LEM whatsoever. And this is at the end of the second EVA where they put the equipment out and take these photographs.
Yeah, but they really screwed the pooch by forgetting to collect that broken rover off of the surface.
I'd say they're in a hurry. They're just sloppy. They just dropped everything. They never cleaned up the mess that they were making while they were doing it. I mean, when you don't get rid of the stabilizer strut that you're using coming down on the gantry crane, and if these are pallets and they're all smashed to hell, what are they doing there? They didn't have room for anything else. And if these people were in the simulation and actually dressed when they're lowering it down on the gantry crane, there's an extra PLSS right there. And the guy taking the pictures got one on, and this guy's got one on. And in practice, they had several PLSSs for them to practice with. They always had backup.
Look at that. So that means that there's an extra PLSS out there. Well, then there has to be 3 of them, because there's guy taking the photo, there's this astronaut by the rover down there, and now this is laying out on the surface. You know, they say that's where the scrubbers went.
Yeah, well, that's all you're going to need inside when you're faking it on the set. You just want to put some scrubbers in there and a little fan blowing through. Keep you cool. Nothing else that you actually need.
Zoom in on that other one down there, though. Like, that's crazy. That other oh, you got to be kidding. It is, too. It's a PLSS.
Yeah.
And that's not the radio. The radio's missing. The top part of it's missing.
The OPS pack isn't on there that you can see. But they had extra equipment while they were practicing. They had extra rovers while they were practicing, extra cameras.
So where did the third one come from then? That's 3 PLSSs.
There's actually 4. The guy taking the photograph has to be wearing one.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Or he's dead. Or it's at Flagstaff and it's a professional photographer taking these pictures. all kinds of stuff just in these photographs. And like I say, when you look at the detail, they're trying to show you something here. I can't figure exactly out what it is all in this photograph because it's like, where's Waldo, right? But you can see that they're showing it on the ground. They're showing you the garbage that's on the ground. They're showing you the cable ends that are coming out of here.
What is that brown piece on the bell?
Well, that's supposed to be part of their guidance system. You can see it's just a piece of foil on an aluminum thing. And of course that, works with the fantastic computer to land it automatically, right?
But this is interesting, especially when you have this.
They call it a drogue. It's a landing drogue.
It's about 5 foot long, it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, look at it here and then look at it here. What's going on here?
Different angle.
It could be tilted over a little bit.
Well, it's possible.
Except if you take a closer look at it, it has been adjusted because one is in the exact line with the angle of the leg. See the one on the left?
Yep.
It's the same angle as the leg, and then it's vertical in that one.
Yeah, it's a bit odd, that.
Well, they regroomed it. You can see it. Look at how perfectly it's regroomed.
Does this look anything like this?
No.
No, but look at there. All of the stuff that's in the other photographs that's behind that leg on the ground, around that garbage bag that's sitting there. There's absolutely nothing down that shadow line.
Yeah, that's really sick, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
The whole thing is ridiculous. The more we look at it, the more ridiculous it becomes.
And they say we're crazy. Well, look at this. Why don't they just look at this? Can't they see it? I mean, it's like horse with blinders on.
Any photograph of the LEM that's there, you could spend an hour just discussing what is wrong with that as far as being a real landing. Just one photograph of the LEM.
But it's a stage set with props.
And closing the doors back up to the bay and making sure the tape's back on it again when you can't even reach that high. After the equipment's taken out of it and then the doors are shut again.
Well, don't forget, one fella showed us. He showed us a film of them where they were jumping up on the LEM and swinging this way and swinging that way. And he says, well, if they did that, then they could easily have taken those doors down and put them back up. Well, how are you going to do that and then put the captain tape right back across it perfectly? How are you going to do that? I don't care how high you can climb. You're going to do that with those big gloves on? Captain tape? Really?
No.
Well, it probably got a little windy and rainy at Flagstaff and they had to close them up.
Yeah.
I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah, it tends to be like that at Flagstaff. Quite high up, so we get some extreme weather, lots of rain, hence the wet flags. One day it'll all come out, we'll all hear about it. If you don't agree with what you're saying, please provide the evidence to show how we are wrong. Now, I've been asking that question for 30 years. I've yet to have anybody give me a decent answer on it. That Apollo was fake. Nobody has landed on the lunar surface. Unmanned craft have. That's not in dispute. But have humans landed on the lunar surface? That's what we're talking about here. And if humans haven't, because they can't land on the lunar surface, then the whole story of Apollo is fabricated. It's a brilliantly executed propaganda exercise in order to demonstrate the superiority of American technology during the Cold War over the then Soviet Union. The Soviet Union no longer exists for whatever reason. So if we're getting it wrong, we want to know we're getting it wrong. So provide the evidence that the lunar landings were real. I've yet to see anything. So come on, all you NASA supporters, all you cult members, please provide us the evidence. And then we can all go away and do something else.
Yeah, all they have to do is show us that every piece of equipment worked from launch to splashdown, that it all worked flawlessly, that everything had its place, and not only one time, but 6 times.
6 times, yeah. And we not even start on Apollo 13 at this point, because that's the feature of another program. Well, we've done it. You can check it out.
Japan had their latest rocket launch.
Yeah, that went well, didn't it?
Yeah, what, 5-6 seconds there?
About 5 seconds, yeah, bang.
Took the whole launch pad, just ripped it apart, eh?
And destroyed the
Yeah.
building.
Yeah, there was stuff flying around there. I couldn't believe the stuff that was shooting off like little rockets on the ground.
One person in the comments section said that we're biased and that's why we can't see anything. Well, the thing what he doesn't understand perhaps is that we were once like him. We saw it. We saw everything exactly the way these guys are seeing it, but then things didn't add up and we started looking. These guys, they won't look because they are members of NASA's cult, and you cannot look, you cannot ask questions, or like you said, out you go. You get booted out. They don't want to get kicked out of here because they're the priests and prophets of NASA, and that's what they're doing in the comment section. They're just trying to throw nothing but ad hominems at us to make us look stupid, and then they're hoping that we will give them a stupid reply so that they can take that and post that on their channels and say, oh, well, look what this guy said. These guys are out of their minds. Well, it's not going to work that way because I'm not following it, you're not following it, and Scott's not falling for it.
You're quite right. Well done, Robert. That's a very good summary of the attitude that people take. It's cognitive bias. Bias against anything we might say, because if we say it, it must be wrong. The trouble is, there are more and more people now finding that what we're saying is right.
I think the fact that nobody's going anywhere with a manned space flight is just not happening. And if Apollo could do it in a few years, and Musk is now, what, 22 or 3 years?
Yeah, but don't forget one thing. With the Apollo program, they had to build everything from scratch. They had to build the buildings. They had to build the launch pads. They had to build everything from scratch. It's already there, my friends. They don't have to build that again. All they need to do is put that craft on that pad and get it to the moon. But now they can't do that without a lunar gateway station and 2 refuelings. Well, they didn't need to do that with Apollo. So what's the problem?
Because Apollo never happened. Now they're finding out what they have to do. Because Apollo never happened, they have to start from scratch. It's taking them a long time to get there.
Well, they must have got all of the details right the very first time. I mean, just even the construction of a launch pad with water suppression on it. Yeah. When you look at the size of that piece of equipment that's sitting there, like it's over a mile across, right, that launch pad. The water towers that they had to put in, all the pumps, all the hydro, everything else had to be put in there. Then you got to put a building up with a dolly to carry the entire weight of that thing and custom build a roadway and compress it so the thing could drive down to it to the launch pad. The huge cranes that are inside that building to lift those pieces of equipment on there. And they had to build that building and create all that stuff in there, all of that equipment in there, just to handle the piece of equipment that they were building, that they were constructing. And that's everywhere they were bringing the pieces in barges and everything else, all custom done just for that piece of equipment. All of that stuff is there. It's been there for the last 50 years.
So it's being used now.
Yeah, nobody has to build all of that stuff. So all they have to do is put together a little rocket, because all the other stuff is there. Put some fuel in it, put some people on board, and go. The difficult stuff is done.
And it keeps being put back to a later date, the landing of humans on the moon. And now they're running out of money, so it'll probably be cancelled.
Well, the spacesuits alone is just a huge problem for them.
And they're now beginning to find out just how much of a problem it really is. But they've got to stop relying on Apollo. They've got to start from first principles of space travel. Going back to NASA, going back to Apollo isn't the way to do it, because Apollo was faked. For perfectly valid reasons, it was faked. It wasn't real. There wasn't humans in space. So come on, guys, get up front about it. Say, right, we've got problems here. Let's see if we can solve them. Otherwise, China will beat you to the moon, NASA. Oh dear. Oh dear.